most
turning
helpful.
coffee into contract, coffee into contract, into contract, coffee into... We're not still shooting, are we?
Oh, we definitely.
Oh, okay.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of The Shred!
Yay!
Yay! Thank you guys so much for all of your feedback on the last episode. We have taken it to heart, and we are looking forward to this next iteration. We are Lisa Shaymont,
Amber Hart
of the Pulse of GovCon. We are working in conjunction with Eastern Foundry, and today's episode is all about how you're outlining your proposal incorrectly.
Womp womp.
Because you are.
Womp womp.
We have 4 cardinal sins that we're going to walk through that we've seen as consultants, we've seen when we're on the ground, and we are going to tell you what you should not be doing.
We've lived in war rooms for over a decade now, hence the reason we are the way we are. And we know a lot of you in industry are suffering too. So we want to have a conversation to help you proposal managers kind of show your BD or your operators why they're outlining their proposals wrong when you're banging your head against the wall, or why you are doing it wrong, frankly.
Just get better.
So let us help you.
Help me help you.
Help us help you.
So the reason we wanted to talk about outlining a proposal today is because we have seen so many people have issues with this, get into fights about this, because it's a sensitive topic, and we get it. It's the skeleton by which your whole response is built around. And so it's imperative that you do it correctly. How many times, raise your hand if you've been on a proposal and then at Gold Team, they changed the outline.
Raise your hand if you died when that happened.
A lot.
No, we're not gonna put all the blame on you, but we are, but we're not.
But we are.
We understand that government RFPs can be a little bit of a cluster. So we're here to help you kind of navigate those roads a little bit better so that you can make sure you're compliant and you're not thrown out. And if you decide to protest through GAO, they don't embarrass you on LinkedIn.
Because they will. Okay, let's get started.
Yay!
So, mistake number 1 that you're making. You're outlining your proposal according to the previous bid.
Or a draft RFP.
Yes, very good. So when it comes to the previous bids, this happens more often than not when you are an incumbent.
Y'all get a little antsy.
Here's why it's a mistake. Because so many people will perform this exercise before an RFP drops and then forget to do a really thorough scrub of it once you get a final RFP.
Or they'll say, let's just adjust the final to the draft copy you already have in order to not reinvent the wheel. But here's where it can go wrong. You're gonna start making assumptions and you're gonna become lazy. And it's better to take that content, move it over to a new copy and a new template once you have your final RFP, or maybe use that time to actually hold strategy sessions. Maybe actually storyboard. Crazy. Maybe create win themes.
Before outlining?
Or create metrics. And actually have a conversation with your operations team about how you actually are going to perform the work. Those are better uses of your time rather than outlining and kind of putting content into a draft because you never know if it's going to change.
And it's funny, I know a lot of people that are incumbents, they'll have a proposal from 10 years ago. And so they'll pull up the solicitation from 10 years ago. Are you the same person that you were 10 years ago?
I'm not even the same person I was yesterday.
I'm not, nor 10 minutes ago. Like,
No.
we change constantly. And so it's a really dangerous, risky game to take that 10-year-old RFP and start outlining according to it.
Just because the government does it doesn't mean that you should do it.
So don't do that. So here's what we do recommend. We recommend that you can have this as an exercise pre-RFP if you really need to see the larger buckets that you need. But if you develop an outline to a draft, you shouldn't get down into the nitty-gritty.
We understand that there's a lot going on all the time in this industry and you're probably balancing at least 5 of these at a time. But it's a good idea to kind of just get together, take the draft to drive those conversations and those meetings rather than sticking one person behind a computer and a template and asking them to dump in your past performance from 10 years ago.
Yep.
Weird.
The second thing that you are doing incorrectly in outlining your proposals is you are outlining your bid response according to the SAO or PWS.
Wrong.
And not the instructions or evaluation. And I know you do this because I've seen you do it.
We've seen you do it.
And we are calling you out on it, and I know we're gonna get hate mail on this one.
We've seen you do it.
Because so many people in industry do it this way.
Unless the instructions specifically tell you to write an outline to Section C, which is typically when it's a statement of objectives, an SOO, that is when they will ask you to do it. But the government will ask you to write to the SAO or to the PWS or to outline to it specifically if that's what they want you to do. If they don't ask you to do it, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
So this drives me nuts because
crazy.
proposals and RFPs are essentially an exercise in following directions.
Paint by numbers.
At least in part, right?
It's
So
compliance, stupid.
you think about being in school, right? I don't know. In the 90s, teachers decided they wanted to put this question in tests, and they'd say, read the instructions. And you'd look at the instructions, and it would say, do not fill out the test. And other people would fill out the test. Did this
I would
happen
fill
to
out
you?
the test.
You would fill out the test.
I would fill out the
because you didn't
test.
read the instructions.
So by you outlining to the statement of work, it completely negates the instructions that are given there, even if they don't make any sense.
And so if you, as a contractor, want to work at the government, and they're seeing that the first thing that you do is
you don't follow instructions.
don't listen to them, we're gonna have a problem.
Even if you're right, don't do it.
Oh gosh.
Think of it like a painter, like a job. At section L is your outline. Section L is your drawing. Section M is your watercolors. It's what you, isn't that beautiful?
That's beautiful.
It's what you brush in there. It's how you fill it in. And then the statement of work is what you take in there. It's like your
the
little
details.
details.
It's, you know,
It's like your
here's a
little
little
details.
happy little bush. Here's a happy little tree.
Here's a little sun.
So the third thing that you are doing incorrectly when it comes to outlining your proposal is you're allowing your subject matter expert, your SME, to outline it for you.
No.
Mayday, mayday, danger.
Danger. You are now in a
Danger, girl.
high risk
You in
area.
danger, girl.
If you want to lose your proposal, or if you want to get in a lot of fights in the very beginning, have your operations people that are in charge of this project outline your RFP.
You're too close to it, SMEs.
Have you not learned yet that the government typically does not put out an RFP that shows what you're currently doing today? You don't want the people outlining because they're going to be like, this is wrong,
This is
wrong,
wrong.
wrong, and see point 1 of what you're doing wrong. See point 2 of them what you're doing wrong. And then you get to point 3 where you're having your project, your operations, or your SMEs outline this proposal because then it comes completely subjective.
Right. So this becomes really difficult because, again, they're too close to it, especially if they're the ones that are going to be performing the work.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about in our last episode the different functions of business development and the labor categories that they had, and that a capture manager performs different functions than a business development analyst does, than a salesperson does, and a VP does. They're all different, and it's the same thing in the proposal world. So your subject matter expert in your operations is very different from your proposal managers.
They're there to provide context. They are not there to outline. Again, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the administrative function of creating an outline in a proposal. We are not talking about the content. You need someone that's outside of there to step in and outline it so you don't become subjective to what those things mean and make assumptions.
So, you know, it's hard because a lot of people, as proposal consultants over the past, 10 years doing proposals and working at different jobs, they've asked us as proposal managers, do you have subject matter expert in X, Y, or Z? And we always say no. You know why? Because we don't need to.
We're talking about outlining your proposal, and you cannot have your SME or your operations person or even your owner of your company outlining this thing because you have to be able to follow the details. And if that means bringing someone in for 2 hours to take the thing, shred it, and then put it into an outline correctly, and then you bring in the people to fill it out. But do not have your project and operations people create the outline for you based on the RFP.
You'll fall victim to this whole idea of showing them what you think they want to hear.
Dear Lord.
Don't act like you think you know what they want to hear.
They don't even know what they want to hear. I don't even know what I want to hear.
I don't know what I want to hear.
Who knows?
So the fourth thing that you are doing incorrectly when it comes to outlining your proposals is that you, whoever you are, outliner, you want to write the great American novel.
And it needs to make sense. You need the outline to flow. You need it to make sense.
I want to write a story. I want to
You
convey
need to show
it.
the story and the details. No, it doesn't matter.
So you want to write the great American novel.
We don't want you to write one.
We don't, because that's not what a proposal is.
And it doesn't need to make flowing sense. I'm sorry. It doesn't.
Amber,
People are going to write me hate mail on that one. It does not.
Doesn't your proposal need to be compelling?
It needs to be compelling, but that comes with your writing. It comes in what you're writing because you're going down a list. Like we said before in points 1, 2, and 3. You're going down your list when they are in the source selection committee, they are walking through and they are doing check marks. They are checking things off. What they read is what's in those little snippets of text. That's where you make it compelling. Different people review different parts of your RFP and source selection, of your RFP response. Therefore, it's not going to make flowing sense anyways.
part of being a writer is understanding genre, and the genre of a proposal is very different than the genre of a great American novel.
You want to turn your proposal into a contract, and contracts don't make a lot of flowing sense, do they?
Make it easy for them. Everybody always says that they want to make it easy for the evaluators, but then they don't.
Because then you're like, this is repetitive, this is duplicative.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's going to be
is.
duplicative. It's always going to be duplicative, but
Welcome
don't get
to a
rid of it.
proposal.
Right.
It's the only no-risk way to be compliant.
Absolutely.
Right? Everything else, could you change it? Of course. But are you putting yourself at risk of not being compliant
You
or
might
not
be.
being evaluated to your fullest sense? Yeah. And you know, the idea of compelling is also so subjective, and we talked about before, we try not to be
When I was
subjective.
compelling, being compliant,
Oh.
following instructions. I find that compelling.
I find that very compelling.
I find that to be extremely compelling.
All right,
And
look
so
at
does
that.
the government. You want to get a date with the government,
That's what it's about.
be compliant.
Check, check, check. Well, that's our show. Thank you guys so much for watching the second episode of The Shred.
Yay!
Woo! So, like last time, we want to invite you now, after this episode, to come on out to Eastern Foundry in Roslyn, where we will be holding our second event.
We've incorporated the feedback from the last event, and it was very great. It was productive. It was helpful. People got to have honest conversations, and we had everyone from every walk of life in GovCon. So we're inviting proposal managers, young, new, old, entry, mid, senior.
Who cares? I don't care.
Whatever. No one cares. We don't care. Come. We invite BD people, capture
Capture,
managers,
business owners.
Business owners. Come on down, investors.
Ugh.
That like to do proposals, because proposals are the lifeblood of this industry, and so this is a very important topic because it just makes things easier for
Absolutely.
everyone.
So come on down. We hope to see you there, and details for the event can be seen in the text below.
But it's not below.
It will be.
Okay. But if it's like over here,
It's
it's over there, up here.
We're gonna have a point for wherever it's gonna be.
Yeah.
So yay!
Yay!
See you then.